Welcome back everyone. So now what we need to do is we need to actually start UV unwrapping these and making sure everything's correct, ready to add our textures. Now I like to go and UV unwrap everything in one go and just make sure that they're all ready to place textures and materials on them. And the reason I do it like that is because I'm always changing textures and materials and I really want to get a good feel overall of what I'm actually doing. So it's very tedious. We did mark a lot of seams as we built this catapult, but there are still a lot of seams to work on. And as we go along as well, we can delete the faces that we don't need and things like that. So what I like to do is, first of all, I like to split up my mesh. So what I'll do is I'll come to Vert Select and I'm going to select all this, just these parts here, and I'm going to split them up from the rest of our mesh, just to give me something, some area clean to work on, like so. And I think I'll select the underneath of them as well. And what I'll do is we're going to put this back together, but for now, to make it easier for us, let's split it up. So P, selection, and let's grab this and hide it like so. And I think, yes, I can click on here. So hide your part here, and that gives us, hopefully, well, let's press tab again, and I'll split that off as well. So let's grab that, and that'll give us this part here to work with. So let's put it back, let's put it on materials mode, and it'll go white like that, obviously. And now what we'll do is we'll press new, and we'll put our material resolution, and you'll see why we call this this material in a minute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring in a simple texture. So I'm going to click on principled, diffuse, and now I'm going to bring in a image texture. So I've clicked on this little button here, this round circle, and then click open. And let's go to resources, and you'll find a file called resolution. Double click that, and there you'll end up with something like this. Now we'll see what that does in a minute. So let's click on here first, press tab, and now let's look at faces we can get rid of. So let's do that first. So these back faces, we really don't need those. So let's click on all these, delete faces, and now let's click on both of these, and we can hide those. And now we can delete this face here. So let's delete faces, and we've got the front and back deleted at the moment, and we're deleting them because they're hidden. No one's going to see them. So let's just hide these out of the way. And now we can work on these parts. So let's click on these. Again, no one's going to see these faces. We're tidying up. We're making less polygons for our build, which is always important. So let's grab all of these and delete faces. And let's now grab the parts where we've done. Let's have a look, make sure I've got them all done. Hide this. And now let's go to these parts here as well. And we're going to delete faces again. So delete faces, Alt H, bring everything back. And now let's mark our seams on this part first. So come to Vert Select, and let's grab our seams down here, like so. And I kind of wished I'd marked the seams on this before I mirrored it, but I didn't, of course. So I think perhaps you haven't either. So Control E, mark seam. It's just a little bit more work for us to do. So in future, take advantage of this and mark seams before mirroring anything over. So let's carry on. Control E, mark seams. There we go. And the thing is with the front, now I'm not thinking about this. The wood grain is going to come down to here, and I would like another wood grain going the opposite way. So I'm going to mark a seam, I think, on this part. So generally the wood grain would be flat on the flat part here. So mark it like this. You'll see what I mean when I bring actual material in. So let's mark these now. If we don't mark these, it won't unwrap correctly. So let's grab all these around here. And obviously the inside also needs a seam mark, because if not, this will be like an infinite loop, and we don't want that. So let's mark a seam there, and then on the other side we will mark our seams. Okay, so there we go, mark seam. And let's just have a look, make sure I've got them all, and it looks like I have. They will show up anyway if not, so now we'll go and do the same thing. And hopefully on this build, as long as there's not many like this, marking seams shouldn't take too long, and hopefully we'll have a lot of it already marked out for us, which will make our lives much easier. So let's mark that seam and these around here, and then these in here. And it's up to you if you mark your seams as you're going along, or you wait till you've got a big chunk like I generally do. Okay, so let's try and grab that one. And there, and mark seams, so Control E, mark seam, and I'm going to do exactly the same as I did on this one. And there is a way actually of copying these seams over to the other side, but I have found honestly it doesn't work correctly. It always makes one of them come out in a non-uniform shape, and I don't know why it does that, but that's what it does. So I tend to just mark my seams like I'm doing here separately, rather than copying the UV coordinates from one mesh to another. So let's mark that and mark seam, and now we can see if this actually is going to work. So let's come to our plus and come down and click on our resolution, and you'll end up with something like that at the moment. And this is why also I like to split things off. You can see here now that I've because I've not split these off away from everything, everything's been marked. So I'll just click on the minus button in tab mode, take those off, and now I'm going to go into this part here. So all these, because these are the ones I'm working on, and I want to separate this off. So P, selection, and let's grab them again, tab now, and now I can come in and press the plus, come down to resolution, and now it's just going to mark those. Now if I go in and press L on these two, press U for unwrap, and you can see now that they've unwrapped perfectly well. What you're looking for is any stretching in this mesh. So let's mark these now first, and then I'll show you what I mean by that. So on these wooden blocks, we can basically mark a seam anywhere we like, because they're just going round basically. So let's mark a seam on all of these, and now let's also do the underneath. So we'll mark a seam there, oops, on the inside, and Control E and mark seam. And now what we'll do is we'll go back to our UV editing now, and just bring it here. Let's press U once more, unwrap, and now let's just pull this over to the side and just put it on material, so you'll end up with something like this. And now press A, hovering over here, press the S button and drag them out. And the reason we're dragging them out is just to show you how this works. So now you can see that all the seams are basically the same size, so you can see these are all matching up the same size. None of them are stretched out or anything like that, and that is exactly what you're looking for. For instance, if I just grab this one here and I do S, if I now come across to this side, you can see that you'll definitely know when there's something wrong with the seam, because it'll look like this. So now if I press Ctrl Z, you can see it's back to normal. So if you've not got all your seams marked correctly, they will definitely show up with this resolution scale on. Now we don't need to always make them as big as this to see what we're doing, but we have got that option to do that, just to make sure that they're done correctly. So now if I go to UV and Pack Islands, it's going to put them all in the right place. So let's go to modeling. We shouldn't actually need to go into the UV editing that much unless there's a problem. So let's now press Tab, Alt H, bring the other part back, and now I'm just going to hide this part just for now, and then I'm going to look which part I want to work on next. And I guess we could start work on the top of here now. So if I press click on here, press the tab button, let's see what we have on this. So we have it going down to here, so let me hide this part and also hide this bowl here, and let's hide the main part of the catapult actually. And well, we might as well go along and hide all this. And our man at the moment, we don't really need him. We can bring him back if we do need him, if you want to scale it when you've got your whole catapult textured. So let's just grab him and pull him back all the way over there. So now let's come to this part and let's work on these. So these parts, as we can see, they're already UV unwrapped, and we've already got our edge down here, so it's not an infinite loop. And what I need to check though is the bottom of there. I'm sure they're done. So let's click on this bit. We will unwrap this one, being as it's here. So we'll mark a seam on the bottom where it's less likely to be seen. Control E and mark seam. Grab it with L, press U, unwrap, and now you'll notice it unwraps perfectly well. So now we can press Tab and we can hide that part. Now let's work on this part. So these should already be done. So first of all, what I'll do is I'll look actually what's done and what isn't. So I think they will be, these will be done. So let's split these off. So this comes down to this point here, as we can see. So we'll split that off. So P, selection. And now we're left with this and this. So let's unwrap this part first. So if I press Tab, and what I'll do is I'll come to Face Select, select this face, press Control plus on your number pad, then press Control E, and let's mark seams. And you're going to end up with something like that. Now I want it something like that because this is going to be wood, this part here, and this is going to be metal. And again, this part underneath is going to be wood. So now let's see if these unwrap correctly. So I'll grab invert select again, all of these parts, and I'll press U for unwrap, and I will also go over to my little plus, and let's click resolution, and we should end up with something like this. Now we can tell that this is not unwrapped correctly as we wanted, and clearly there's an issue there. So if we go now back to our UV editing, and we look at how it's unwrapped, you can see that one of them has unwrapped perfectly and this second one hasn't unwrapped. So if we go to solid for now, and we'll have a look why this one hasn't unwrapped. So we must be missing something here, and it's probably to do with this. This part is joined onto this part, so it's not unwrapping correctly. So let's just have a look round, and I'm going to grab this on face select. So face select, here we go, press L, and this is the one that's not unwrapped. So, and I'll try unwrapping it again, it's still not working, so I'll press Control A, rotation and scale, and now I'll go back in and try unwrapping it now, and it's still the same. So I'm wondering if there's an actual part underneath this. So what I'll do is I'll grab this H, and let's have a look now. And we can see now that there our problem is. If we come back to our vert select and come into this corner here, you can see that there's one seam that we've missed. So Control E, mark seam, and now press A, U from wrap, and now it will unwrap absolutely perfectly. So let's go back, and this is why it's so important what we're doing. And you can see that we all make mistakes, so it's very important that we do this. So now that bit's unwrapped correctly, let's grab this part here, hide it, grab this part here, hide it, and now we can start work on our next part, which will be this part. So again, Tab, and I think we'll split, in fact we'll do these little bolts first. We'll split these off and do these. So let's grab all these bolts. They should be easy to do, and I also think that we'll grab these points here, because these are already unwrapped. So we'll grab these two points here, press P, selection, and let's click on them. Tab again, A to grab everything, plus, come down, resolution, and you should end up with something like that. Now it's a bit hard to see how these are unwrapped, so first thing we'll do is press Tab, Control A, rotation and scale, Tab once more, and U, and unwrap. Now let's now we can see what we've got here. So let's just make sure we've unwrapped them correctly. Again, UV editing, grab everything, and S, pull them out, and let's have a look what those marked seams are doing for us. And I can see that they're unwrapped pretty nicely. I mean, they're slightly turned on this, but we expected that, so they're absolutely fine. We can see the right resolution. So let's just put those back with Control Z, back to modeling, and now finally I can hide those parts as well. So next part, click on here, and we've got this part and these parts, and we can probably do both of those at the same time. So I'll grab this one, so L, L, and L, and I'll split those off. So P, selection, and let's press Tab. I'll hide this once more, and this, And now I'm left with this part here, which I should be able to work on without doing something to these parts. Also, I don't need those faces on here. So let's press tab, face select, grab these faces, delete faces, and take those away out of the equation. And now we'll mark a first seam on here. So Control E, mark seam. And now we need to look, well, where else are we going to mark our seams? Now again, because this is wood and it has a wood grain that goes around, we can get away with marking seams on all these four corners just to make sure that we've got them. Let's just have a quick look. Actually, yeah, I'll do that in a second. I'll mark this seam first. So let's mark the seam here, here, all four corners, Control E, and mark seam. And let's grab this and come to plus, and let's go down to resolution and tab, Control A, rotation and scale, tab once more, U, unwrap, and that one's unwrapped perfectly. Let's hide that one now. And we can see we've not got an end on these, so that makes it easy for us. So we'll come to the inside and we'll mark a seam going down there. Again, if you can't see properly, just go to solid mode, Control E, mark seam, and now let's grab both of these, click U, unwrap, and now you can see they've unwrapped pretty nicely. Now obviously these are going to be going in a weird angle because of how this works. Now if that happens, you can go to UV editing and you can see how these have unwrapped. You can see they've unwrapped correctly, so they've unwrapped pretty flat. It's just that they're pointing at a weird angle. So you could go in, for instance, grab this, press the R button, and just straighten them back up. Now we can do that when we bring our material in, but there's really no point actually going in and doing that at the moment. So we'll just, I've just corrected mine, but you can just leave yours as is. We'll correct them as we go along. So back to modeling. Now I've checked these are all correct, and now we need to do is press Alt H. We'll bring all the things back, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to hide these parts that we've already done. Not those, these. So let's hide those, and now we can see what we've got left. And now let's start work on these parts here. So click on this part and look to see if you can work on the entire part. And I think I can. I'm sure I can. So what I'll do is I'll grab all of these. So that'll be fine. We don't need to hide anything. So let's press tab. We've already got a seam marked on here, as you can see. Look for places, first of all, where you can reduce polygons. So I can reduce polygons on all these parts here and on the other side. So I'm going to delete these ones. So delete faces. And now I can start work on these parts here. Again, I can delete all these faces. I just don't need them. No one's going to see them. So delete faces. And also when we come to mark seams, when we've deleted these faces, it makes it so much easier. So let's just grab all these faces and delete faces. And if we look as well, I'll quickly press tab, Alt H. You can see that the underneath of these, no one's going to see them. So again, I'll press Control Z just to go back, tab, and now let's delete faces on these. And now let's start marking our seams. Again, these are wood, so we already know that we can pretty much mark seams wherever we feel like it, as long as it unwraps correctly. So let's mark the seams here, and I will go underneath and mark them here. Oops, I don't need that one, just the cross sections. So like that, Control E, mark seams, and I need one on there, Control E, mark seams. And this one, to make it unwrap correctly, you can grab the top. This is metal, so it doesn't matter as much as wood. This can open flat, so imagine if you push the top down, these flaps will sprout out, like so. And this now will unwrap, breaking these points here, as you can see. So now let's grab all of these, make sure we're on material, plus, and resolution, tab, Control A, rotation and scale, tab once more, U, and unwrap. And now you can see they've unwrapped pretty perfectly. So Alt H, tab, Alt H, bring everything back, and now we can see that's what we've got at the moment. So I hope you didn't find that one too tedious. We've still got a lot of work to do, but hopefully a lot more of this now will be mirrored and seams already marked. But I feel like we need to go through this process anyway, just so you get a grasp on how to correctly UV unwrap things and mark seams, and what faces you can keep and get rid of and things like that. So thanks a lot everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.